It's kind of late, Sunday night. I should have made this video way before, but I was planning on making a video on how to become aesthetic, gym. I was supposed to make this 2 weeks in a row, still haven't made it, but it's because, so this week I've been doing this thing where I feel like I always think very short term, and it makes me always fail because I'm thinking, oh, I need to do this today, I need to do this today, and I'm thinking of such big projects to do, which aren't possible in such a short period of time, proper things with foundation and things of substance take longer. Success doesn't happen overnight, right? And stuff like that. So I was like, I need a better way to think of long term. And I always am just writing shit down. And sometimes I'll be honest, these are all just papers of shit back and forth. And they're just a little bit. I always write shit down because my thoughts are just always in my brain. I'm just they're just circulating. So at work, when my thoughts are overflowing, I write everything down. I have a lot more. But sometimes I read them back, sometimes I don't. I have lots of forms of documentation. Even this is a form of documentation. But sometimes I don't read it back. As of recently, the past couple months, I have been reading them back, and it's so interesting to see because you do things in 1 week, you're so stressed or whatever, and then you read next week and you completely forgot that happened. That's how most things are. But as I've been recently writing these things down, I know I need things to change, and I've been having a different mindset on my struggles or problems that I've been going through because I've been reading a lot, I've been gaining more knowledge, and so I've been writing these things down. I read them back, and I wrote down that I need to think of a longer term plan, and the best way to do this would be to write down my different life sectors. So I call life sectors different sections of my life that I care about. So mine are money, business, school, gym, mindset, physical and mental health, family, friends, content, dreams, vision, girls, and just life in general. So everything outside of that, just random things that I need to take care of or whatever. Oh, it's right there. But things like that I think is very important for if you are wanting to get your life on track, you want to do better, you want to be more organized, you want to have long-term plans. Figure out the life sectors. So figure out what's important to you. What are things you constantly think about? If you're always thinking about money, money's probably one of them. If you're thinking about your career, career is another one. If you're always worried about school, that's how I did it. It doesn't have to be super. It should be broad. It should be basic, and you can fit multiple. I have finances, accounting, and money in one, and the other one's business, work, and hustle. So business is my own thing. Work would be a job. Hustle would be something I do on the side or whatever, right? So they're all somewhat intertwined, but they're each of my sections, right? And then what I did was I made those sectors, and then for each sector I wanted to write down my goals. What am I doing currently to get those goals, and why I'm doing it to get those goals, and if I continue doing what I'm doing, where does it lead? And it sounds kind of dumb because you should know all this and that, but as I've been writing these things down for each sector, and this takes a while. I was doing this for hours upon hours because I didn't touch my phone, I didn't do nothing. I just left it. I sat on my computer like this, and I did I don't know, this is I was writing for a while. That was just some of it, right? And that's not even including the papers I had to read back and all the things I talked about with myself in my head. It's so important to do this because if you follow that little you can do it for yourself, whatever, but I did based on goals, doing, and where it leads, because I felt like I wasn't on the right track to get to where I want, and I needed to make changes. So when I did this, reading it all back made it so much more clear. I had so much more clarity. It felt so good to just read it, and I'm like, damn. So some of them I read, I was like, okay, so this makes sense of what I'm doing. This is one thing I wrote is I want to be a lot more productive, right? And then I said, okay, what does productivity mean to me? And I was like, it would mean making money, using my time to do activities that move the needle, getting in good physical shape, finishing school, things like that. So then every day I complain to myself that I'm not being productive enough, but literally I wake up, I go to work for 8 hours, then I go to the gym 2-3 hours, and then I come home and I do any of the other life tasks laundry or cleaning or homework or so it's this whole time I kept complaining to myself that I wasn't productive, but my idea of productivity was exactly the things I was doing. So it made no sense that every day I kept telling myself, oh, you're lazy, you're a bum, you're this. It's that whole negative self-talk, it really is bad for you. You really shouldn't do it. You gotta really, another thing I started doing was when I write, I journal every night. Like I've been doing that for like 4 years now, and at the end now, as of recently, I started writing 3 things I'm grateful for, and it's such a simple task that you would think you could easily do, but sometimes I'll be honest, it gets hard for me to think about things I'm grateful for on the day, because I don't write some basic bullshit like I'm grateful for my family. It's like, no, I need specific things, and it's so weird because you literally wake up with a little bit more relaxation. You're grateful for life. Like it actually works. Like the things that people say on the internet saying, oh, write down 3 things you're grateful for, and you're like, oh, that's cringy, I don't want to do that bullshit. It's like, no, it actually works. There's a reason telling you to do that, right? But with this, I wrote down my goals. I wrote down what I'm doing currently, why, and where to continue. If I continue, where does it lead? Man, it changed so much stuff, because you write down everything. You're just like, whatever, right? You're just continuously typing. You're not stopping. You're not going on your phone. You're not eating, whatever. You're letting your brain just continuously flow with the thoughts, and you just type it all out, right? And when you read it back, you're like, damn, like, so what I'm doing is technically correct. And you make some minor adjustments, you make some minor changes, and it literally changes the whole game, because you're able to think, like, when you do this, you're able to take like what it feels like for me is like every day you're like going through the emotions and you're like struggling, you're saying this and that, negative self-talk. But when you do this, you almost scope out and you can like see yourself from a distance, and you're like, okay, so this is his path. You can like predict a timeline a little bit better. You can make minor adjustments, like, move this way, move that way. It's like you're scoping out and you can see yourself from a distance, so it's a lot easier to plan and do things. So in the long scheme of things, I was doing the right things, but on the short daily, just because I was like going to work and trying to finish school, it felt like I wasn't doing enough. Like that's all I kept saying, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing enough. And because of this, I've seen that like my mind's a lot more at ease, because I'm like, okay, so I have been doing the right things in some sectors. Other sectors, I was like, damn, I was completely, like I had the wrong strategy. The planning was horrible, and it's because I've been just doing things based off my thoughts and what I thought was correct. But obviously, reading it back, I was like, who the hell thinks like that? This doesn't even make fucking sense. It's like you were just acting off like no knowledge, no nothing. So reading it back gave me a better perspective. I remade the whole plan and I put a new plan into place, and then now it just all feels so much better. Like I feel like everybody really should do this if you want to get your life back on track. If you want to, compress the time for it takes for where you want to be to your ideal life. If you want to make sure, like sometimes I have goals, and I think we all have goals, and it gets lost in the sauce, and you don't really know what you're doing at some point. You're just like, you feel like life's going on autopilot. You're just going through the motions. It's very important to write everything down, see what you're doing correct, see what you're doing wrong, make the changes, give yourself the reminder of why you're doing these things. Write it down somewhere so you can easily see. I wrote it down on my whiteboard, all the 8 sectors with the goals and everything. And another thing you should also do is the goals that you have, you should either set goalposts that you won't move. So like if you say, okay, once I start making $10,000 a month, that's the end. I don't want to, because if you set goals and then you're gonna eventually get them, let's just say you're just gonna be like, okay, 10,000 I got now, I don't feel that happy, let me go for 100,000. And it's like you just keep moving the goalposts back. So you should almost, like, when you set your goals, also set the limit that you want. Like obviously you shouldn't set limits on yourself, but be like, okay, when I hit this number, I'll be content. If I get more, great. If I get less, we know we have to go back to what we were doing. But set the limits so you know you actually have an end goal, and don't just, because if you don't ever set end goals, you just continue to go, and you always just get greedy, you just always want more. It's just not good. But yeah, I feel like this is the method, man. It's what you gotta do.